everybody, welcome to week 7. So I'm Barb, and I'm going to be leading you through this journey. Before we begin, make sure you've got your supplies. You're probably going to need your coffee. You're going to want something sweet for a snack. You're going to want something salty. You're going to want something to take the edge off. No, that is very large bottle of wine. So you may remember me from the introduction video from the class with Christy, and then the introduction to part 2, which gives you all the nitty gritty that you're going to need to know for this. This week is specific to week 7, which our topic is hunting the elusive YA book. We're going to be a little bit of an introduction to YA and then looking at award winners. But most of what my class is I give you a bunch of I give you way more readings than you're going to need. Do not feel like you ever have to finish everything on the readings. That's not the point of it. It's for you to find sort of an area that interests you and go that way. Again, the course, I think you're supposed to be, is it 11 and a half hours? I don't know. There's a certain number of hours. You know what you need to get the work done. And there's a lot, but most of it's reading and, not to toot my own horn, but most of the reading is really fun. So, the discussion, I've been reading the discussion for Christy's section. It's looking great. So I'm not too worried about that. The blog, there's already a couple up there. If you have any problems setting them up, there are online tutorials. I urge you to watch them. But if you get stuck, please do not make a website to use for your blog unless you're going to have all of your new content up at the top, because the idea with the blog is it's a process. It's an unrolling. So just bear that in mind. All right. I do want to look a little bit here just to show you how it's going to be lined up the same way every day. You got your content file. Then there's your link for the blog, link for the book discussion, which is separate from the general discussion. I think 2 different times a week, 3 posts at least so you can get your full 7 points. Right here is the response sheet, or the response, which is a whole thing that I can't even get into. So make sure that you watch the introduction to section 2, and that'll give you the nitty. Actually, I think in the main introduction too, it'll give you the nitty gritty for the types of different responses that you are going to need to produce. And then week 7, this is the book group sheet. So for each week, it's a list of everybody in both of the sections of the class who's reading what. So that way, hopefully you've already looked at the main sheet and decided who you want to work with, but it's up to you. All right. And then there's a bunch of readings, and I split them up this time because I've got 2 different kinds. That's not a big deal. So YA tends to be, for teenagers, the 13 to 19. Most of what we're going to be looking at is going to be in the middle there, high school range, but we have a couple of, like this week, we've got The War That Saved My Life, which is pretty firmly middle grade, although I read it as a 50-year-old, 60-year-old, loved it. And then we're not going to do a ton of new adult, which is sort of post-high school graduate, but that does exist. I think there's an article at some point in the articles that we'll talk about that. So now let's look at what the resources are for today. Just in the articles, I've got, let's see, Bird's Newbery Timeline. This is going to give you an overview of the Newbery throughout history. It's one of the oldest awards. What's happened with it is just a fun little thing to look through. Then we've got YA Evolution, which looks more specifically at the Margaret A. Edwards Award, but how that represents what's going on in YA. Then we've got Testing the Metal, which is, not everyone has the same opinions about books. So this looks at, the 100th birthday of, is it the Newbery? I think so. Anyway, and what the deal is with that. Then we've got 8th grade YA booktubers. This is I don't know if this is from 2019. Some of these people are probably not even booktubing anymore, but it's kind of a placeholder that BookTube is a great place to get recommendations. And like Book Riot, I probably should have put that up. That's probably, one of the granddaddies. Anyway, but there's a lot of different booktubers, book talkers. That's TOK. There's a lot of ways that particularly our kids are finding about books from social media. Then we've got, this one's just fun. It's 1-star reviews, the Newbery edition. So it gives you an award about a book, and then, or a review rather, of a book that won a very prestigious award, but that was not particularly in love with the book. It's kind of funny. Then, okay, this one is one that you might want to take a look at. It's Serving Conservative Teens. And this talks about how, we want to make sure we have representation for all our teens. We want to make sure our LGBTQIA plus section is really good. We want to make sure that we have lots of different experiences. We want to have books for our kids from other lands that, that give them a feeling of belonging. Um, Conservative teens sometimes have a hard time. There's a lot out there that they might not be allowed to read. My parents were very conservative, and we had many discussions of what I was and was not allowed to read. So you want to have things that, are going to be amenable for those kids as well. Then we've got Roger Sutton's Discoveries of Like-Minded Souls. This is from a family of readers. And it's just is it the introduction? No, it was chapter 9, but it's from his book, Family of Readers, just about reading. But this is, about reading as a teenager. And he's an old guy, but I think he still remembers it. Then we've got Prize Portal, and this looks at how the Youth Media Awards can, really goose a write. So from a writer's perspective, like what it does for them, but it's interesting to know. So whatever those interest you, enjoy. Then I put some awards here, started with the Horn book, which is one that I don't use all too much, but they have plenty of awards, and it's local, it's Boston Award. Then we've got Cynthia Leitich Smith, and this is great because she puts in there's US Reader's Choice Awards and then other criteria, but she's got all of the awards for all the states. And finally, this year, after I think it's our 4th year, she finally got the Mass Teen Choice Book Award in there, which I was one of the founders of the Mass Teen Choice Book Award, and I've been on the committee every year. And a lot of the books that I think maybe all of them with a couple exceptions. Anyway, a lot of them are books that I read because of the MTCBA. So, and that's a lot of fun. If you ever decide once you're firmly ensconced in your library, that's something you might want to be interested in, I highly recommend the process. All right. And then finally, we've got the ALSA Book Awards and Books list, and there's a bunch of those. So, if you would like to read this, I do, I have a little bit of a narrative about you may not need it. It may be things that you've already heard with Christy or just that from your own experience, but I give a little overview there. All right, so the work is this. You're going to read your book discussion book. Hopefully you're already there, but I can't remember what they are today. Should we look? You know what they are. Then you're going to read any articles that appear to you, investigate any websites. This is fodder not only for you to learn, of course, but also fodder for the discussion board, which again, don't worry about. You don't have to have like a big post with all your content and then your, 2 replies. All of your content can be replies if you want, or you can just put up content. I like to make it conversational. If you've taken a course with me before, you know how that goes. Just make sure you go in at least 2 different times during the week, which I know can be hard, certainly when you're working, but it's summer. Surely we're all just relaxing now, right? What else have you got to do? And reading the book, of course. And if you can, be a little ahead with reading the book, that's going to help you out because you don't want to get caught. Plus, oh my gosh, everybody's going to recommend so many books. At the end of this class, you're going to have a list as long as your arm. The blogs kill me. This week, you do not have to have your blog. You don't have to have content on your blog. I just need to see that you've got a link to it. Please make sure in the future when you put the link to the blog in the grading tool that you go to the specific post for that week. So your week 9 post. And the way that you can get there is if you have a list of all your posts or in your editing tool, you can click specifically on that post, but make sure it's not opened in the editing tool. This is one thing, it just saves me a ton of time, and it's good for you to know, how to function your way around a blog. So, but oh my gosh, I get so many good recommendations that way. But you don't need any content this week. Then your reading response project, and that is one of the, you can do it's not wordless, but the visual one. You can do your paper. There's one that connects to curriculum, which I highly recommend for week 7 because we talk about that in depth, especially if you're not somebody who's in education already. It'll give you an idea, some more ideas about how this works. And then audiovisual. And at least one of these, although all of them are welcome, need to be a group or partner project. So make sure you get that done. And then you have a bye week. So you get to pick a week. I would prefer if you're not used the last week as your bye week, because you don't do a specific reading response piece that week. You write an essay about yourself as a teenage reader, which is always one of my favorite things. Anyway, all right. So if you have any questions about that, Canvas email is the easiest way. You have my number and my other email in the syllabus, but I check Canvas a couple times a day when I'm teaching. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. If you need an immediate response, of course, a text is always good, and say, hey, Barb, go check your email. There's also the help thing that I know Christy's made good use of. If you think that your question is going to be valuable for the whole class, put it up in there. I'm going to be I'm traveling right now. I'm in Chicago for the 4th of July. But I'm going to be traveling while I do this. So I don't know why I told you. Maybe just in case it all goes terribly wrong, you'll be like, oh, it's not her fault. She's traveling. Oh, the last thing, begin thinking about the final project. Let's go over here. There is a final project section, which I should move up, that has all the information, your literacy promotion project. There's a couple of articles that might help you with that. But I do urge you, we're going to just move this bad boy right up here so it's right in your brain all the time. But don't leave that for the last minute, because the end of the course, we have a short week, and everything has to be in by the last day because it's such a tight schedule at Salem at the end of the summer. So start working on that now. And then as you go through, you're going to be reading more books, hearing about more books. It's going to help you build your bibliography. That thing's going to write itself. So just choose sort of the format you want to go in. And if you have any questions, I am always available, of course, on the Canvas. All right. So I think that is really all I have for you. It seems so quick. But I hope that I'm going to stop sharing here. Ooh, I got so big. All right. Enjoy your reading. Enjoy your writing. I'm going to enjoy seeing the discussion. Somebody already posted a little early, and I was like, it starts. All right. This is a really fun thing for me, and I hope that you enjoy it as well. And if you have any questions, if you need any, if you have things going on and things are going to be late, don't worry about that. Just do bear in mind that the discussion is the only thing that really can't be, that is time sensitive. So make sure that if you're dropping anything else, make sure that you keep your discussion going because you only have that week. You can't go back. So, but everything else, it gets there when it gets there, as long as it's in by the end of the date. Just let me know if you need anything from me. All right. Well, have a great week, and I will see you on the discussion boards. Bye-bye.